Greetings, it is I, your archivist, and today we're going to start with a very simple statement. Everything that you think is a symbol. What do I mean by that? So I want you to, oh, look at me, because I'm on a video. The image that you are seeing of me in your head is not me. Yes, I know that this sounds like, oh, of course not, that's really dumb. But it's not, because there's an underlying assumption that we typically have, is that when we see the thing in our head, we believe that thing to be a direct representation, meaning that is the person or the thing that I'm dealing with. And it's not, because I'm not in your head. When you think about me, I'm not up there, fortunately for you. So, with that being said, why is this important? This is important because symbols are made up of associations and meanings that we develop over time. Anything that is valuable to you is linked somehow to a symbol. So if you shut your eyes and you said, what is the most valuable thing to me? Mine would be my wife and my kids. What is it that they mean to me? It's companionship. It's love and affection. It's getting the joy of watching my children grow up and potentially reach the potential that I see in them. There is a joy in symbols, and there's also a negative aspect. Uh, Symbols can be those things that we fear that develop out of traumatic experiences. We're going to get in that in a little bit when we talk about the world building aspect of this. Now, a very important thing to understand, okay? I'm going to give you a little side story. Is when I learned it, like it hit me, and I was like, "Oh my God, we think in symbols." I've had people say this to me, especially my uncle. But when it happened, when it hit me, I had the neural activation, and I went, "Oh my God, everything that I think about is a symbol. It is a symbol. It's not the direct thing. It's actually the symbol." I had this like brain blast of like seeing all these images and like having all these associations and things being, and it landed on my youngest son. Now, something about me and my youngest son is that we have butted heads a lot. He has had a hard life, and I have not made it better in a lot of ways. Um, we butt heads. Um, there's personality conflicts and all that, but there was some kind of history there too between us, given situations that were going on, and so there was a while that we just didn't like each other. I mean, I loved him. In the moment, I would throw my life down for him and I would die. But God, living for him, Jesus, now that's hard. So in that moment, I realized that my son represented a bundle of relations to me, right? He was like this thing that frustrated me. He was this thing that aggravated me and wouldn't listen and made my life harder. And like he represented frustration and anger. And the moment that I realized that, one, I did feel ashamed. But two, I had hope because I was like, if it's a symbol, the thing that I see in my head, not my son over there, the thing I see in my head is a symbol that means I can manipulate these associations. And so I started working to go, no, he's not just the thing that frustrates me. Of course he frustrates me. He's a human, and I don't have direct control over him. That's life. I have to get over it. But he's not just the thing that frustrates me. He's that witty little thing that has that kind of humor that I had when I was younger that always got me in trouble. Well, now that humor that I had that I think I'm hilarious and I go and cause problems for other people, well, that gets to be reflected back at me. So I could learn to appreciate that humor. I could take all these things and go, no, not this. I don't want to associate this with him. I want to associate this other thing with him. And so I rebuilt the symbol of my son in my mind. And it took time. So, with that being said, let's transition to world building and writing. And I'm going to move my notes just a little. All right, very good. So, how do we do this in world building? So I came up as I was practicing this for you so I wouldn't go on for 40 minutes. but we keep it nice, short, and sweet, is that I thought of this. So in world building, you have symbols all the time. You could have a king, you could have a sword, you could have a kingdom, you could have a flag, you could have an animal, right? So let's say that there is this sword, and it's called the Hegelios sword. And this Hegelios sword was used by the founder. Let's make him a legendary kind of mythical King Arthur type being who brought this Hegelia into existence. And so the Hegelios sword has for centuries stood as the heart of the kingdom. It is the symbol by which the kingdom was founded. And now it could mean justice and charity, benevolence, and freedom, right? It could, whatever, right? Like it could be all those things. So let's say that the kingdom has kind of gone into decline and there's this kind of sacking. And let's say people were taken into exile, do this kind of Jewish or Israeli Babylonian situation, right? So they're taken out and the sword is stolen or it's lost. No one knows where the sword went. So later on, you get a group of people, and here's your story. The goal is to find the Hegelios sword because they're rebuilding Hegelia, but there's something missing. And that thing is hope. Hope that they can rebuild and be as prosperous as they were before. A hope that they can return to a past glory. And I think that's a hope that's intrinsically human. We know that at some point there's going to be the moment where the last great thing that we do, that's it. It is the last great thing. And your hope is that as you're younger, you didn't peak early, that you'll peak later, that you will build, you'll go, this was awesome and great, but it's the greatest so far. So they're going on a quest to find the Hegelios sword. And the sword no longer represents the prosperity and all that of the old age and the glory, but it's become hope. And so you can twist symbols to mean a bunch of things. So for instance, let's take a martyr. A martyr dies for the cause. Or a person dies for the cause and becomes a martyr. Martyrs don't die for the cause unless they're a necromancer or an undead. That's an interesting thing. Someone go write a story, post it in the link below or in the comments below. So when a martyr dies, the kind of interestingness of the reason I think mechanically a martyr has to die is that I, as a living person, I can keep influencing the symbols in people's heads, right? Like right now, I am developing associations for you in your head, and you're willingly letting me do that. Now, you could go in your head and go, no, I don't like this guy. He's a stupid loser face, and his breath smells funny. And you can work to fight the kind of natural accumulation of associations. Just lost my place. Give me just a minute. Okay, minute's up. All right, martyrs. So I can do that. So if I continue to live, I can continue to change those interpretations. I could do something bad. I could have a massive, catastrophic moral failing. And it could rip that association, that symbol of me, the associations that I built up, into shreds. But if I die, and so let's say I die for a cause and now I'm a martyr, I become basically only existing in a symbolic form. That means that I, as a person, tend to not have the ability, because I'm dead, to continue to change. What requires changing of the symbolic form of myself is you, or the other people who remember me, or the things that are built. So if a cause is built around me, well, let's say later on some of my moral failings come out and they're enough in the public eye that they go, he wasn't that great of a dude. God, he really freaking sucked at this. Then that could change. So when you're dealing with symbols on a world building, like a cultural level, think of them as just very kind of grand ideas. It could be, justice. And if you've seen the one where I talk about conflict of values, you will understand what I'm talking about. I'll try to, I think it's going to be there, put a little tag there. But if you don't understand what I'm talking about here, then go watch that video. It's long, but I promise I do try to put in meaty stuff. Anyways, so, and that was not an innuendo, at least this time. So, when you're world building, you want to kind of think on general levels and go, okay, what are these symbols, right? And I've got a worksheet in the description below, and we'll kind of go through that. Now, what I think is more interesting is for characters, because this gets in the nitty gritty. So you have kind of grand levels of symbols, and then you have with characters very minor levels, because the characters symbols are inherent to them. The cultures is kind of inherent to the majority, and that is a point I do need to quickly clarify, is that the interpretation of a symbol, statues, their meaning is dictated by the majority of people, culturally speaking. Now, going back to characters and individuals, how do you do this? Well, let's say that you have a character who loves apples because apples represent home because they were born on an orchard. So when they see apples or they bite into an apple, their mind goes back to summer days spent working and helping their family attend to the apples, and maybe jumping in the pond at the end of the day to cool off, or maybe midday, right? And then eating apples as they went as a snack. Then let's say they come back after a while. The farm has been having problems. The dad's called them back. It's like, hey, I need your help. We're having issues. Well, they come back. Okay, here's your, the start of your plot. Or not the start of the plot, but we're through the introduction and we're on to the, I don't know where my brain is today, inciting incident. Got it. Yes. Go, Chris. So the inciting incident is that they come back and they see their father die. He's murdered by the mobsters whom he owns money to. And through that process, like, let's say a barrel of apples falls and they fall across the dad's body, and like they roll in the ink for the algorithm. It's blood. The red ink that's very viscous and hard to write with in a pen, also known as blood. So, and they see that image, right? So now they link those summer days, those good days are gone, because that traumatic incident creates a trigger in their mind that when they see apples, they see their father's dead body and the blood spilling out and the apples rolling. So, and again, it's red apples, right? So then it's like they see the red of the apples and they think the blood of their father. And so you can do crazy things with it. Now, it doesn't always have to be traumatic and crazy. It could just be that they have a symbol and that pendant represents not just a faith, but how about a paragon of the faith? And they hold on to this symbol in their, moments where they're fatigued and they're tired and they're surrounded on all sides, and they hold the symbol and they're like, well, we're surrounded on all sides. Well, boys, we don't have to aim, just fire, right? Like something like that. But, you can do stuff with that. So wrapping it all up, I wanted to keep this short and sweet and to the point because I got to go to work and get some stuff done. When you're building your stories, think about things in symbols. Also understand that your cultures can be symbols to the reader and your audience. Or the characters themselves can be a symbol. They can represent something else other than just themselves. Remember that you can manipulate these symbols, that you can make them do weird and interesting things, and that the progression of a symbol over time is also really interesting. And you can see how certain people want to hold back to this traditional or original view of the symbol versus people who want to look on what it currently is, or maybe even to what it could be. So, at the end of the day, the next time you're building your world or you're creating your characters, ask yourself these 3 questions. How can these symbols change? What symbols do they live by? And what symbols do they die by? I've been your archivist. Please feed the algorithm gods. If you liked it, please comment below. If you have a suggestion, comment below. If there's anything I need to clarify you, please comment below. Feed the algorithm gods. And there is a worksheet in the description below, as well as a couple other links. My own stories, if you like reading, go check them out. So I've been your archivist. Thank you. Have a great day. And remember, I'm proud of you.